Welcome back to Happy Hour, our podcast for young adults here at the Cathedral of the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus. My name is Rick. Holly, my co-host, is with me. How are you doing this fine day today, Holly?
I am doing wonderful. How are you, Rick?
I couldn't be better, especially because of our topic today, humility. Everybody loves humility, don't they?
Yes, it is. It is a good topic.
It's a really good topic, and this is, again, one of those things where I feel like this could maybe be a whole season on this, because I have so many moments in my life where either I needed to experience more humility, or I was with people who maybe needed to experience a little more humility. I think it's something that we all struggle with at times. Some are better than others. And I learned a lot from, of course, the way that Jesus handled his life, and a lot of the saints actually too. And we've got some good quotes, we've got some scripture, we've got all kinds of great stuff waiting for you today. But I want to let you kind of kick this off, Holly, because I think you've got some real good insight, some stuff that you've been thinking about and reading, and some realizations that you've come to. So why don't you kick us off? Talk to us about humility. What is it about humility?
So I was sort of meditating this morning on it, and I was sort of thinking, I guess the topic we're discussing, it's how to be humble, and then what makes us stumble from being humble, along with our own personal experiences with that. And I had been thinking about it, and one of the biggest moments in learning about humility in my life was after, I think it was last year, a confession, and I was told to read the Litany of Humility as my penance, and I was like, that's like a little confusing, but I've never heard that before. And it really hit me, and I didn't realize how much, pride I was holding. And it really hits you. But I was going to read a little bit of that to kick us off.
That's great. So this is the Litany of Humility.
Yes.
And
I definitely encourage anyone listening to pray with it. It is fantastic.
And they can just Google that, right, Holly?
Yeah, you can Google it, and there's little images with drawings and things that you can also look at, and it sort of is a good way to meditate through it. Awesome. But the last part is really good, so I'm going to start us off with that. And so the beginning of it is seeking to have humility, and it's from the desire of being all these characteristics of being loved, of being extolled, honored, praised. And the second part of it is from the fear of being, despised, suffering rebukes, being forgotten. And the last part was just really amazing. So it says that others may be loved more than I. And the response is, Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it. And then it goes on to say that others may be more esteemed than I. Jesus, grant me the grace to desire it. That in the opinion of the world, others may increase and I may decrease. And it goes on to say that others may be chosen and I set aside. That others may be praised and I unnoticed. That others may be preferred to me in everything. That others may become holier than I, provided I become as holy as I should. So those all just really nailed me.
Wow. That is, as you're reading it, it's like piercing my heart, every single one of them. That's incredible.
Because I just didn't even think of these things just in my life beforehand. I was like, wow, do I think of myself better than others? Do I, compare and all of that? So I don't know what you think about those things, Rick, but it definitely pierced my heart as.
Yeah. I feel like we almost spend most of our days comparing ourselves to others, right? In terms of maybe how much more they have, or who we should be more like, or what people think of us. I think those things dominate our minds, but this kind of flips the script a bit, doesn't it?
It definitely does. It sort of focuses on like the virtue of humility and then the vice of pride, and sort of the comparison, I think.
Yeah. It's made me just think, like, if we're comparing ourselves and we're so worried about what people think of us, well, the people that I genuinely enjoy the most are humble people. And I think sometimes we might get maybe a mixed up definition of what humble people are. It's not, berating yourself or thinking you're nothing. In fact, C.S. Lewis had a great quote of humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less, right? So it's not that you're putting yourself down, because you are God's creation. You are his beloved child. You are great. You are made in his image and likeness. So humility doesn't, destroy all of that. And why would it? Humility instead is more of thinking of others before yourself. And I know we alluded to that a few weeks ago on our Joy podcast, right? And that's like that's the main thrust of what C.S. Lewis was trying to say. So I feel like we're supposed to flip the script. So instead of wondering or worrying so much about what people think of us personally, like what have we done right or what have we done wrong or do we look good enough or anything like that, I think humility is a little bit different. Would you agree with that?
I absolutely do. I'm a people pleaser, so that goes along with that. Definitely.
Amen.
It definitely takes a shot of my own pride if someone doesn't like me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And there are haters in the world, but regardless, like recognizing that not everyone will always appreciate me or always like me is a good lesson in humility.
Yeah, absolutely. Could not agree more. There's so many people who have spoken on this topic, but maybe what we can do is look at what that might look like in our lives, like a daily walk with humility, beginning in the mornings, right? We wake up. First thing that we should do probably is acknowledge the Lord's existence, right? And maybe invite that humility into our day. How many times, Holly? I mean, I'm just going to be honest. Mine's probably in single digits. But how many times do you think you've been able to wake up in the morning and just say, Lord, make me humble today. Give me humility today. Is that something you often do?
Not often. Sadly not often.
I don't know too many people that do it that way. I got to be honest with you. And okay, so that's maybe something that we can start with. That's a real practical, I feel like it's not a difficult thing. It's the asking. Now, you got to be ready for what's to come if you're going to ask, right? Mm-hmm. So this is one of those moments where you have to be careful what you wish for. Is that pretty safe?
I guess that's pretty safe to say, because if you ask for humility, God will definitely give it to you.
Absolutely, he will. So we do have to be careful because we're probably going to get what we ask for. So starting the day with humility. What would be another next step, do you think, Holly, after we've kind of opened our day with a bit of asking the Lord to be a part of it? What would be another step that we could take in terms of setting our day up for humility?
Well, I would definitely say putting others before yourself. And that's something that we discussed as well in the How to Live with Joy podcast, featuring the St. John Bosco methods and tips on how to be joyful. But it also really applies for humility, because Jesus was all about just like giving of himself and being there for others. So we should try to emulate this in our lives as well. So in going throughout, so after the morning when we, I guess, reflect on it, just going throughout the rest of our day, sort of just trying to figure out ways on how you can put others before yourself.
Yeah. It even starts with breakfast.
Yes.
I say that, and it might sound weird, but it starts with breakfast, I think. So my family gets up. Now, I will say for me, it starts even before breakfast, because breakfast is usually just a coffee from Dunkin' Donuts. I'm just being real. And but before that, I like to get up. I like to exercise, and then all my family starts getting up and having breakfast. So that's wonderful, and that's great. But even in those moments of breakfast, where it's the beginning of the day, it's kind of your first acts where you're doing something, you're acting. What if there's only a little bit of cereal left and two of you really like that cereal? Or what if even, we took who are you going to give that cereal to? But also, what about serving somebody breakfast? This idea that others really should come before ourselves. I think it begins with breakfast. If you live with people, maybe there's an opportunity, if it's just once a week, once in a while, or even a habit that you begin. What about service to others? What about beginning your day by serving others? I think when you do that, it sets the tone for the remainder of the day and will give you plenty of opportunities to serve the entire day. My theory, and I say it's my theory in that I do it, when I do it, it's correct. And that is, if I start my day with serving, if I start thinking about others first, the entire rest of my day, it's almost like a competition for me. I got, all right, well, I did breakfast that way. How can I do lunch even better? Or, all these things. So it's almost an addictive thing to want to serve. So I think if we begin with breakfast, the day can really be set up. Now, you're a student, right? And you're in a sorority, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you live with several other females, right?
All in one big house.
Yeah. So how many females live in your sorority house?
It's about 30, I believe. So there are a lot of other girls living with me as well.
Wow, that's more than I thought. Okay. I have 10 people in my house because we have a big family. I can't imagine multiplying that by 3. That's a lot. So there's a lot of hair in that house, right? There's a lot of needs of using the bathrooms, all that stuff. How can you balance that for humility? Because you have classes you have to get to. Right. You've got things that you have to do. What are some ways that in your area you can begin kind of that day with humility?
Well, there's always, with 30 people, there's always a lot of laundry to
do.
So we have 3 washers, 3 dryers. So sometimes, if you know that somebody has laundry to do, maybe just waiting on that till later at night, maybe when you're more tired, after a long day at school, that could be a simple act of humility, but just that you're going to be tired later. So it's sort of a sacrifice on your part to wait or to maybe help someone out and take their stuff out of the dryer for them. If they said, oh, could you grab it for me, get it to their room. Even like you were saying with meals, you can, I guess a few meals come out at a certain time and you could wait and let others go before you. When, and that's a simple act as well that you can do when you're living with a ton of other people.
For sure. And one that's, I'm certain, very appreciated. We all know that moment where it's really difficult for us when we wait and we want to be in front and we want to, come on, let's get the line moving. You hurry up so I can get mine, right? So that feeling, and what you're doing is you're giving freedom to that feeling. You're allowing other people to experience freedom of that feeling. So when you have humility, you're actually giving a bigger gift than just letting somebody go first. You're freeing their internals from that strife, that gut punch, right? So when we start talking about humility, and especially service and humility, there's a lot that goes on here that is behind the scenes that you might never know. And that's okay.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's laying down like you're saying, it's laying down your own personal agenda for others. Yeah. And like you said, it's allowing the other people to not feel like they need to be stressed at that moment or, there's something on the heart or something.
Exactly. And there's plenty of stress to go around. So if we can alleviate that for people, that's a really good thing. Andrew Murray was a South African writer. He was a Christian pastor, and he had said something that really got me to think, because it almost seems like what would be the opposite of humility would be pride, I would think, right?
Yes.
And you can take pride in the work that you do, but you can't be proud. There's that fine line. I think we talked about that, didn't we? Did we talk about that?
I think we might have.
Maybe we didn't. Maybe. On a podcast somewhere in the ethosphere. I don't know. I'm not sure. But Andrew Murray said this. He said, "Pride must die in you, or nothing of heaven can live in you." Right? And
that's a good point.
Yeah, and that really goes to, there's an old saying that I heard that was, pride is the sin of Satan. And You think about that, you think about the history of Lucifer, who was an angel, and it was because of his pride, because he wanted to be top dog. He wanted to be God, basically. And that was his downfall. It was pride. And so the opposite of that would be humility. So when Andrew Murray said that, or when I read that from Andrew Murray, it really, it punched me in the gut, because I think about, wow, nothing of heaven can live in you if pride is at the forefront. And there's so much truth and honesty in that. I mean, how many times have I blocked somebody else's accolades, or like if somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, look at this, look what I did." Sometimes my first thought is, "Oh yeah, well look what it's like the one-up statement."
Yes,
Have
absolutely.
you ever been in that situation?
I definitely have. And I'm like, okay, well, I could do it better than they could. And it's that comparison game again. It goes back to like the comparison, and being prideful, it glorifies ourselves. But the humility, having humility glorifies God.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I think throughout the day, we're going to get experiences of pride and the opportunities to have humility. Those that work, when you're at the workplace, that's another big spot, because, we're all fighting for our need and want to be wanted, and to do a good job, and to be seen, to be heard. But the people that I find make the most impact are the ones that get you to talk about you, or they're not there to talk about themselves or show themselves off. Instead, rather, they're there to make you to get you to start talking about the good things in your life, or get you to see things a little bit, even maybe boast a little bit about what you're doing. When people have humility, you build others up. And those are the people that I love. I love spending time with those people. So and they probably don't love spending time with me. I think I need to be a little bit more like that. But what a great reminder throughout your day. How can you build people up? I do this thing on Thursdays called Thank You Thursdays, right? And again, did I talk about Thank You Thursdays on this podcast?
I think so, but for our listeners that maybe haven't heard those, maybe, you could review that, definitely. Yeah, I really like that idea.
It's just a real quick moment of reminding me that other people are more important than myself. And on Thursdays at noon, my phone blows up because I set an alarm that says, and all it says is Thank You Thursday. And it's an opportunity for me to write a thank you note, or go up to somebody randomly and just thank them for what they do. Help them to see that even the little things maybe that they do make a big difference in my life and in others' lives. So I think you don't have to wait for Thursday. You can do it any day of the week. You can do it every day of the week. The more you build others up, the more they want to be more like you. And that's the point. I think we all want to be humble. We all want to be heard. We all want to be seen. We all want to be validated. But the people that make the most impact in life are the ones that build others up. That's it. It seems so simple to me. Does that? I don't know. Am I crazy, Holly? Maybe I'm crazy.
No, I think you're absolutely right. And what you're talking about with just like the wanting recognition and validation from others, that's something that I struggle with, and I have to sort of set that aside in my own heart. And it definitely allows more of a space for others once I do that, because you realize that it's not that important usually.
True.
And you're doing things with the idea that you're doing it for God's greater glory and purpose is better than what you could be, wanting that recognition for. Absolutely.
And I get it, because, I want recognition too, but I feel like as I'm getting older and older, I don't need that anymore. I think my eyes have been opened up more and more to the reality that the Lord loves me regardless. And that should really be the mission, that we should help people see that in their lives. If everybody realized that the Lord loves you regardless, I think humility comes naturally. I think, right? Like pride falls along the wayside, but it's not God. It's not like God is hiding that from us. He tells us it at every turn. He shows us it every day. It's us that have to come to terms with that reality. I think we beat ourselves up a little bit and don't remember that we have a Lord who wants us to see the good in ourselves, wants us to know that we are made in His image and likeness, that we are bound for great things, yet we get in our way. So practicing humility, once again, is putting aside those distractions. It's putting aside your thoughts. It's allowing the Lord to speak to you. Have some humility even in the moments where you're thinking about yourself, right? Does that make sense?
That definitely makes sense. Absolutely.
So I have one last quote.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now this is from Jesse Jackson. So I don't know, take it for what you will. But I love the quote. He says, "Never look down on anybody unless you're helping them up."
That's a good one. Building each other up, like you were saying.
Yeah, because that's one more stumbling block for pride and humility is when we look down on someone. Right? Like we're superior in some way, shape, or form, whether it be physically superior, mentally superior, spiritually superior, whatever it is. The danger is in looking down on others. But I love the twist in that, right? Never look down on others unless you're helping them up. And that's pride, right? If we're not doing that, that's absolute pride. But the moment that we can help others up from our experiences, from our lives, from what we know, what we see, well, that's not pride anymore. That's humility. That's placing others before ourselves. So maybe that's something that we can stick to this week is practice a little more humility, put aside our pride, and serve others. It's funny because we do all these podcasts, Holly, and I feel like we keep coming back to this whole serving others thing. You think there's something there?
Absolutely. I feel like that goes with the commandments, like first love God, then love our neighbor. So I feel like it definitely fits in to the love your neighbor aspect.
I think so too. I think, and it's made right. So that's when the Lord was asked by someone, what should I follow the commandments, or what are the two most important commandments? Love the Lord and love others, right? So exactly. It seems to be that natural flow. And in doing that, there's love of self. You help yourself. That's the strangest thing. Like when I go on mission trips, I always have this notion that I'm going to be doing all these great things and this incredible work. And yet when I go to serve, I'm the one that ends up getting from it. I don't know. There's really something there. I think we need to explore this a little bit more some other time, Holly. What do you say?
Absolutely. And really quick, I have, from some fellow listeners that happen to be in a Bible study that I'm a part of, I told them this morning if they had any quick tips for us about, attaining humble hearts and humble lives.
Yes.
So 3 of them have responded. So I will really quickly share their tips here to our listeners. One says, show everyone the same amount of love, no matter their situations.
Ooh.
And another says, lifting others up or being kind with no expectations.
Nice.
Which is what you're talking about with the Jesse Jackson quote. I love that.
Yeah.
And lastly, be grateful for what you have and give to others what you can without expecting anything in return.
Wow. Okay, so clearly you have theologians in your Bible study group who have amazing. Wow. That is a lot of great knowledge that just came out of those quick tips. And I think maybe when our listeners listen back on that, just write one of those down and just lean into that for a little while. And then when you're like, I think we're good on that, then listen to the next one, write that one down and lean into that one for a while. Because that is phenomenal advice. Thank you to those. I'm assuming they're all ladies. Is that correct in your Bible study?
Yes, we are.
To please express our gratitude for those because that really benefited us. It's going to benefit me. I've already got one in mind that I'm going to do. I won't share which one because I don't want preferential treatment, right? It's just I'm going to choose one. I'm going to live with it this week. So thank them for that, please.
Absolutely, I will.
That's excellent. Well, we're out of time. We enjoy you guys so much. If you like us, you like this podcast, share it, subscribe to it. You can find it on all the major platforms. But until next time, enjoy your week, practice humility, and let go of pride. God bless you all.